Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us to today's webinar on Swift Go. My name is Tariq Shaheen, Director of Payment Solutions at Eastnets, and I'm happy to be here with you with a group of experts to talk about the latest in Swift Go. I will be your moderator for today, and as you know, Swift actually has launched this service last year, and since then, the Swift Go service has been transforming low-value payments worldwide by introducing this efficient, quick, and transparent secure payment service. Today, you will hear about the service from different perspectives. And with me today are a group of experts, as I said, who will present the topic to you. So from Swift, I have Ala Al-Rusan, Senior Account Director, who will present to you the progress that we have on Swift Go worldwide and how financial institutions are embracing the service. And then Afif Mabrouk, Principal Product Manager from Eastnets, will present to you our solution, Eastnets solution to implement Swift Go quickly and in an efficient manner, while aligning with the Swift Go SLA and the additional services that Swift is offering, along with Swift Go. And the third presentation today will be from one of our esteemed customers. We have Sofia Razouk, who is the Assistant General Manager and Head of Operation at the Arab Jordan Investment Bank. She will talk about their experience in becoming the first bank in Jordan to launch the Swift Go service and to be among the leading financial institutions worldwide in releasing the service using Eastnets solution. Before we go into the presentations, I want to remind you that if you have questions or comments, you can just type them in the questions box, and I will be following with our speakers to answer them towards the end of the webinar. So without further ado, I hand over to Ala for his presentation. Ala.
Thank you, Tariq. Dalia, if you can move the screen. All right. Thank you very much for having me, Tariq. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ala Rusan. I'm part of the business development team of Swift based in Dubai. We're looking after the Middle East, North Africa region, actually from this office. So I'm delighted to be invited to this important webinar to speak about the journey of Swift Go, what has been going on the low value international payments space, and how banks and Swift are responding towards capturing this this market as well, slowly. Now, just Swift mode, actually with the Swift mission, is just to enable instant and frictionless cross-border account-to-account payments all over the world. We are driving the finance forward and revolutionizing the high-value payments with Swift GPI. So if you remember the journey of Swift GPI, which has launched in 2017, now we are talking about 90% of the cross-border payments are high-value payments, mainly are being GPI enabled with a full transparency on fees and also speed. We're talking about more than 50% of the daily payments that are going through Swift network today are already captured and settled within 5 minutes. Now, we are here sitting on the new grounds. We are also, along with yourselves, with the partner banks, with everybody in this community, we are empowering the community. We are trying to overcome all of the challenges and create new opportunities for yourselves and also for your customers. Now, let's just dig deeper a bit in the low value cross-border payments space. Now, you can see that there is a clear interest in the low value payments space. Now, when we look at when we analyze the cross-border payments that are taking place over a Swift network, 62.4% of them are considered to be part of the low value payments space. When we talk about low value, we mean the amounts or the transactions that are with a total amount of 10,000 US dollar or equivalent in any local currency. Now, in reality, based on many sources, based on the EY Global FinTech Adoption Guide and the McKinsey Global Payment Report, 75% of the consumers, the retail consumers, are doing money transfer using a payment fintech. So they're not going through banks. 50% of the SMEs, the small medium enterprises and businesses, are also using money providers rather than banks actually for their cross-border payments needs. So now the message here is that there is a strong competition. There is a lot of traction when it comes to the low value space, even within looking at the World Bank reports as well, there is a continuous growth actually on this business. So with the main focus on remittances, but also on the SME space. So that's why I think the time is now for all of us to react together. We're trying to help, we're helping you, we're equipping you with tools that you can provide and just productize your also new products and new services to the community in order to help them with their payments needs. Now, on the other side, regulators and also global leaders from the Financial Stability Board, from the G20 as well, has set a target in 2027 to enhance the cross-border payments experience in general. That we're talking about the global perspective here. How do we detail that? Well, basically, which mandates the cost of payment to be less than 1% of the total amount, and 75% of the cross-border retail payments need to be settled within let's say within 1 hour, and with a full strong access and full transparency also on the payment details. That's why, as you can see, Swift, along with its community, has worked on a new proposition that can tackle and let's say meet those criterions and also global timelines and missions. So Swift has worked on a lot of offerings to targeting the large corporate space, the large value payments, when it comes to universal capability and same-day use of fund, trust, and all of that. So that's with the introduction of Swift GPI in 2017. Now, the time is now to work on the new segments, which are the SME and the consumer space. That's why there are certain challenges that are taking place or happening at the moment, from a poor user experience, from a lack of transparency and speed of fees as well. We are able to market, I think, with the business model, with the correspondent banking business model, there is an opportunity for all of us to work together into capturing new markets and new opportunities as well. And this is why Swift has introduced the Swift Go. That actually, by design, it started 2 years ago and it went live in 2022. Now, the main mindset actually behind Swift Go. So if you think about it, stop for a moment and think about the main principles of Swift Go. The whole idea of designing a Swift Go is not to make a complete change actually of the existing model that you have today. So when it comes to infrastructure and setup, it's going to be very minimal. The key principles actually of designing this is by keeping in mind that payments have to be predictable in terms of speed, cost, effects, and everything related to it. There will be no hidden cost behind it, with a very simple SLA and mandates. So basically, we are talking about Swift payments that are capped up to $10,000 US dollars or equivalent in any local currency to be processed, sent, and received from one account anywhere in the world to another account anywhere in the world as well within 4 hours. With now the way how we're gonna do it, with a full transparency of fees. So payments and fees have to be known upfront before the transaction is being sent. We're gonna talk about the mechanism, the how part of it in a moment, but those are the key principles of that. Now we are leveraging the same infrastructure of Swift, being a Swift user today, the same infrastructure, let's say, that you have built on also to enable Swift GPI for most of you. So we're following exactly the same principles to have this success all of us together. Now, think about the whole model. So based on a correspondent banking model, there is always 3 steps in between: being initiator or a sending bank, an intermediary or a correspondent bank who are in the middle, and finally beneficiary banks. Now, within Swift Go itself, we respect this. So the rule book of Swift Go really focuses on each role separately. It depends on your market, it depends on your need, it depends on your positioning within your, let's say, marketplace. You can play either one role, a sender or a receiver or an intermediary. You can play all roles. You have the choice to start onboarding currencies. You have the choice to start working with partner banks. Depends on your interest and depends on your ambition when it comes to market expansion. So there is always a story or a role for you to play, being an initiating bank or a payment service provider, or being correspondent bank doing FX, or also being a beneficiary bank, a credit fund that you receive for your own consumers. If we think about it in practice, so the example here that you can see, so we have a debitor agent, which is basically the sending bank, intermediary, which is the correspondent, and creditor agent, which is the beneficiary bank in this case. A $1,000 transaction sent or asked by a consumer on an SME to be sent from one point to another will remain as $1,000 at the end, as you can see here on the screen. But how does this happen in practice? For those who know really correspondent banking model, there is always a principle of deducting fees from the principal amount. And that's what we are trying to let's say, enhance in terms of experience. We are predicting fees based on agreed charges before actually the transaction is being sent. How does this happen in reality? The debitor agent or the sending bank, along with the intermediary, agree on a specific fees per transaction, which are saved securely at Swift network itself. And then those fees are going to be visible to the consumers from your channels through your mobile banking, internet banking, or any other channel as well. Just informing your client that this is the total fee of this transaction, either to be deducted directly from the account before the principal amount is being carried on within the transaction itself, the MT103. And after that, none of the participants on the chain itself will be able to deduct any fees from the transaction itself. And this is how we guarantee the full transparency of fees. Now, things also within the SLA itself, we are mandated, or we're asking everybody to respect the rule book and the SLA itself of 4 hours. And that's in a nutshell how we are doing it. In fact, we are leveraging the same Swift GPI tracker that most of you or all of you are using right now, either to confirm payments or to track your payments. We are leveraging the famous MT103 that everybody is using in the payments world. And also, you don't need to create any new infrastructure for it. You are exactly reusing the same infrastructure. Either you are connected through a service bureau, connecting directly, or using a cloud option as well. So all options are allowed. Your business will not be interrupted. It's more about enhancing your processes to achieve this goal. Now, since the establishment, since the go live of the service, we have more than 630 plus banks who have adopted the service. 70 of those banks are live, and many are going to go live this year as well. So you will hear from Sophia from Arab Jordan Investment Bank about their experience with the go live and also the transactions that they are going through. Of course, the banks that we have are covering around 130 corridors, and we are waiting or working with the banks as well to expand the list of corridors and markets that we're trying to let's say approach within Swift Go itself. So as you can see, it's a really a growing community. It's only about enhancing their services. As you know, Swift is it's a member-owned institution. We are owned by you, being a shareholders, and we're working for the benefits of shareholders, the financial institutions in this case. And we equip you with the tools and services in order to shine and in order to provide new products and new services to your clients. Now, Before I just hand it over to Afif, my message to you that I invite you all also to understand the technicalities of it, to understand the business opportunity that you can create. We have clients who have managed to go live within the service itself within few months, leveraging on their previous experience on implementing GPI and using it, because the key principle that we follow, again, is not to invent something completely new and create something new to add more burden on you, is to leverage whatever you have. And if you have the right service partner, the service provider also who can, from a payments orchestration point of view or payment systems point of view, your experience will be much better. I'm sure Eastnets, our host today, actually has expanded a lot and worked a lot actually on that space. And that's this is where I will hand it over to Afif to also to tell you how they are, let's say, approaching their clients with their own products to help you with the go live very quickly. Afif, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ala, and thank you for the audience here. We will start actually with the overview for our Swift Go Enabler, as described by Ala from Swift, that we use with many banks actually to let them be compliant with the Swift Go rulebook and all the gain the benefits from these new initiatives and have new market share and new experience to your customer. Actually, our Swift Go Enabler will, as an overview for the solution, it's focus on many areas that to automate all these actions and do a validation for any outgoing transaction, check the eligibility if can be transferred as Swift Go or not. And according to this validation, we apply it, then we can do a payment correction for our transactions if need any intermediary to be considered as part of the payment processing before releasing the transaction to Swift. And we make sure that after we do this correction for the MT103s, outgoing one, it will be accepted with the correct SLA that or STI that already assigned by Swift for the Swift Go messages. And definitely as part of the incoming transactions, as we offer for our customers, for all exceptions that can, let's say, break the SLA for incoming messages, we are trying to manage all these exceptions and provide the bank with all the monitoring, real-time monitoring tools and notifications, in addition to reporting that you will have it for all the volumes that already processed, and even define automatic actions that let you, even with all the exceptions you have, it is still with the SLA defined for the Swift Go. As described by Ala from Swift, the SLA for incoming for beneficiary bank or intermediary needs to be executed within 1 hour. So here we have, let's say, a new SLAs that, in addition that what we have currently with confirmations that related to GPI or universal confirmations, our enabler actually from Eastnets will help you to manage all the confirmations for all the different SLAs you have it from Swift. And this is also will be implemented with minimal impacts or change on the existing infrastructure you have, that you have it for as core banking system or middleware or solutions that are already involved as part of the payment flows for incoming and outgoing transactions here. For the exception handling, actually, our solution will monitor all the volume you have it, even within the Swift infrastructure as Swift Alliance or entry, or with your sanction screening or any other solutions that lets these transactions, especially these incoming, that can not process in STP, and will you get notifications for these transactions so you can give them a highest priority from compliance point of view or from operational point of view to execute this transaction within the SLA defined by Swift for these incoming Swift Go. Even with these transactions that already, let's say, not processed or not have final status on the core banking system, our solution will monitor these transactions and also prepare the confirmations needed for the Swift GPI tracker, and internally as part of the reporting and notifications that automatically will be generated from Swift Go Enabler from Eastnets. As part of the principles we have it with Swift Go is the validation, the predictions for the corridors that will be used, and also for the fees and effects that will be used with any outgoing Swift Go payments. And this can be implemented actually with our enabler using the traditional way which is used at the first implementations for Swift Go, which is the GPI directory. To be a part of our implementation with Swift Go Enabler, and will be considered as part of the workflow for the payments orchestration within the enabler. The other options, which is now is become available from Swift, which it is the Swift pre-validation services that require the Swift micro gateway adoptions here. All these validation services from Swift and the communication with the micro gateway is available now with Eastnets Swift Go Enabler. So whatever pre-validation services we have it now from Swift will be available through our Swift Go Enabler, and definitely, as usual, we will manage all the complexity required to communicate with the Swift micro gateway to expose all these APIs required as part of the pre-validation services will be available through our enabler in two different ways, as per the what is the bank believe that is sweet for them to implement. One option is to have these APIs fully integrated with your mobile apps or online portals that you have it for initiating payments or any other solutions. So during the payment initiation, you can do these validation rules before you complete the transactions. Or you can have these APIs and validation rules as part of the payment orchestration within our enabler. So we will do all these kind of validations, and according to the results, we will do the automatic action for corrections or let's say enrichments that needed before releasing the transactions to Swift. So these options will be available to you to gain benefits from the pre-validation services. Will make sure that your transactions will be successfully accepted by your correspondent or with your beneficiary bank without any breaking for the rules for STP rules to be to execute the transaction and credit the beneficiary customers. And we make sure with our Eastnets Swift Go enablers that all the implementations or scenarios or exceptions handling that you looking to have it with our solutions can be done with the minimal impact on your existing systems. And also to adapt whatever your solutions you have from compliance, from channels, to be considered with the flows that you would like to have it with Eastnets and with Swift as part of the Swift Go or as part of the pre-validation rules and services from Swift. As a solution from Eastnets, we try, as usual, the maximum to provide the value to our partners, I mean here the banks, and definitely your customers. So we are providing out-of-the-box solutions that lets the bank actually adapt all these initiatives from Swift and to be ready to market earlier stage. So you can gain benefits from these initiatives, and let's the customers, your customers, have this new experience by having faster cross-border payments with the Swift Go or with Swift GPI. And definitely with having this out-of-the-box solutions, which means we are ready to implement this with, as we mentioned, with minimal impact. And also in addition to out-of-the-box components, we are providing customized components to you. So if you need any, let's say, interface or additional workflows that need to be supported to complete your end-to-end with the existing infrastructure you have, this is already we provided. Most of our components, with the small configurations, will be ready to be consumed and available for the systems to be to complete the end-to-end implementation. And definitely for the reporting and notifications to be scheduled from our solution to be generated in a specific time or in real times. These all options are available with our Swift Go Enabler. Definitely, as you see here, Swift is introducing with the Swift Go a new SLA, where more automations actually is needed for your transaction, especially when discuss the incoming transaction, when the bank acting as beneficiary or intermediary for these Swift Go. Our solution ensure that you will have a higher rate of automations. And definitely, as we described before, any exceptions that prevent these transactions from being processed, you will get a full notifications, and we have SLA managers that will let you have an automatic confirmations that to be shared with the Swift GPI or internally as part of the reporting or real-time notifications that we have it, and you will see it in your inbox directly without having the needs to access the application and monitor the system all the time. And definitely as an output for the value, we have it from our enabler. We try to make sure that whatever principles you have it with a Swift Go, you will share it as an experience with your customer with faster cross-border payments. And this is what we will see now after a moment with Sophia, as their experience with Swift Go implementations using our Swift Go Enabler. And definitely this will let you have a new opportunities and a new market share, especially with low value payments in the market. These are the main key values we have it with Swift Go. I will hand over the mic, I believe, if we don't have any questions to Sophia.
Okay. So since you mentioned the questions, just wanted to remind the audience that you can type the questions in the questions box, and we will answer them towards the end of the webinar. And just picking up from what Ala presented and your presentation, Afif, I think the two core elements over here is the simplicity of the service, because as Ala highlighted, the Swift introduced the service with minimum requirements using the existing infrastructure. So it should be easy for banks to roll out the service. And with the points you described for our solution, it should be very easy and speedy for bank to roll out the service. And of course, to talk about this in more detail, it's better to listen to one of our customers. So please, Sophia. Yeah.
Thank you, Tariq. Thank you, Afif. Good day, everyone. It's my pleasure to be part of this esteemed webinar. Allow me please first to introduce myself and AJIB. My name is Sophia Razou, Assistant General Manager, Head of Operations since 2014 in Arab Jordan Investment Bank. AJIB, which is one of the leading investment and commercial institutions in Jordan for more than 4 decades. In our consistent pursuit of customer satisfaction and to be recognized as the leading bank in Jordan and in the region, in products and in the use of technology by being client-focused, innovative, and having customer service excellence and highly skilled employees, AJIB is continuously developing, updating, and upgrading to the latest technologies, best practices, and business mechanisms in response to the growing needs of its high net worth customers and individuals in Jordan and the region. With its subsidiaries in Qatar, Cyprus, and London, AJIB is able to reach out its valued customers and offer them state-of-the-art product and services. For this, we chose to become a Swift GPI bank, an initiative from Swift, which was developed to improve the experience of making a payment via Swift network for both customers and banks. Any bank that joins GPI will be able to enjoy its many features and benefits, which include transparency of fees, end-to-end payment tracking, and confirmation of credit to the recipient's account, which positively affected our customers' experience. To even better enhance this service and commit to our values, when Swift Go was introduced, AJIB seized this advantage as low-value payments markets are growing fast, and we don't want to keep our customers waiting. So we chose to become sender and receiver in all currencies to accommodate our customers' needs. We did indeed notice a speed as fast as 9 seconds to beneficiary bank. Knowing that we have Eastnets as our partners, as before in Swift GPI implementation and many other systems, and with both our team's dedication and experience, and with their ability to deliver in timely manner and flexibility to tailor to our needs, which they were able to deliver with no changes to our core system, as well as meeting the Swift Go SLA. Thus, we became the first bank in Jordan live in Swift Go back in November 22, seamlessly and trouble-free. Moreover, the provided solution is able to scale up as traffic increases, which is expected to happen once more banks join Swift Go. As a matter of fact, and in order to enhance the customer experience, Swift has recently in their rulebook eliminated the bilateral condition and is continuously reaching out to its partners for feedback to maximize on its services. Finally, I would like to share a few points to consider and focus on during the project. Setting priorities and keeping track of what's new and which markets to target, along with having trustworthy partners, are all factors that will help you plan and adopt to such technologies. Becoming a Swift GPI bank paved the way for both AJIB and Eastnets to implement Swift Go trouble-free with the support of both Eastnets and Swift project teams, because we realized the many benefits it had to offer and as a result reflected on our valued customers' journey with us. What was important to us is that deadlines and rules were met with no major changes in our core system, whilst enjoying the many benefits it has to offer, and we were able to become the first bank in Jordan to go live and amongst the 50 banks worldwide. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Sophia. Very informative, and it's good to hear from a practical experience from one of the leading banks to implement this service in Jordan and actually worldwide, as we have seen from the present slides you have shared. So I'll now hand over to some questions. I'll check the questions box. You can type more questions as we go if you have any. So I'll start with this question. Maybe this is for Ala. So one of the audience is asking, what are the main challenges for full service for Swift enabled banks to roll out the service in multiple countries?
Well, let me explain the journey quickly before we talk about the challenges, because the challenges can be different from one bank to another. There is no one general, let's say, reason behind it. Now, because as we said actually clearly during the webinar, we said that we are trying to reuse everything that you have today. So we're leveraging the infrastructure you have, and we are leveraging also your own existing relationships. Means that from a nostro vostro accounts relationships, correspondent banks relationship, this is one of the key things that you need to leverage, or let's say work on. Now, the moment you build, let's say you build the whole rule book implementation and the mindset, then you can exchange the transactions immediately. Now, two things that you need to look at. First of all, you need to agree on the fees structure with your counterparties, being a sending bank, let's say, with your correspondents. Now, the key challenge as part of this story if you have a relationship that does not cover certain currencies, then you're not going to be able to use those currencies. So one of the challenges that you can think of here, that the currencies exposure that you can use, it has to be also, let's say, linked to your own existing relationships. If you don't have a relationship that can support that currency, then you cannot really use it, in fact. So the second thing that you need to look at, which I don't consider it as a challenge, but something that you need to really to think of, is the rule book itself. Like the 4 hours SLA comes with its own, let's say, thinking and design, let's say, in terms of processes today. I'm sure Sophia has gone through a kind of, let's say, many brainstorming sessions among their teams just to see how we're gonna tackle the 4 hours SLA. I don't believe now, looking at how things are being evolving, let's say, with the instant payment systems being, let's say, set up and implemented in so many parts of the world, including the many countries within our region here. I think the mindset is there, but you need to think a bit, I mean, just to work on all together as teams to work on this and just make the 4 hours SLA possible. Those are the things that I wanted to highlight, but other than that, I don't see a big challenge, because let's say from an infrastructure itself, you are reusing the same one. You don't need to change anything from an IT perspective. The systems you have, if you have gone through the GPI journey, it's going to be very simple to shift this and also start attracting the new segment with the introduction of Swift Go.
Thank you, Ala. And there is another question over here. Hello, everyone. What is the expected behavior to apply AML requirements on Swift messages to be within the expected time to process it? Maybe Afif can take this.
Yeah, actually, this is one of, I believe, challenges for banks, especially if they try to apply all the sanction screening rules and the list they have for incoming or outgoing payments. We, as outgoing transaction as a journey for outgoing payments, we do, let's say, workflow for sanction screening by integration with sanction screening you have. And whatever is a decision taken by the AML or by compliances will impact the transactions as outgoing, and also will update the channels if there is, for example, any rejection or the transaction is pending for a while before taking a final decision. So this is as part of the outgoing. But the main challenges, I believe, for compliance is for incoming Swift Go payments, where we have, let's say, restricted SLA. Let's say within 1 hour, I have to confirm the transactions with final status. So we, as I mentioned before, we monitor all these incoming transactions, even with the compliance or with the sanction screening solutions. And if there is any exceptions, like for example, that transaction is blocked, then automatically will confirm this to the tracker, and also will prepare the return payments on behalf of the bank, so make it fully automation. In addition to this, if there is, let's say, need more time from compliance team to complete their investigation, in this case, we update the transaction with the proper status that is pending, waiting for more time to final decision to be taken. So you are still within the SLA, and you update the status automatically to the tracker. So no need for involvement from users as operation or compliance to take manual events here. At the same time, all the other banks in the payment chain, they will know that it is still waiting for you and know the reason why it is pending at your end. Definitely, if once it's released and take place on the core, based on the, let's say, posting results, we will share the final status. This is as a journey for AML, and this is one of the main channels that we always, in GPI and Swift Go, we have it. And our solution is capable actually to let you, even with all these exceptions from AML, still within the SLA, we have it from Swift for Swift Go.
Tarek, may I compliment Afif here as well, from my perspective? Actually, Afif has mentioned a very important point about the SLA respect and then updating the tracker, because now looking at the industry at the moment, despite the fact that we are putting mandates on SLAs and so on, there are still some exceptions happening, and some exceptions are for a good reason. Like what Afif has mentioned. So sometimes for compliance reasons, you are waiting for certain information before you actually process the transaction and clear it. And that's why the communication is key in such thing, where if you believe that this transaction is going to take longer than the 4 hours, then you can just simply update the tracker saying that the payment is pending. You don't need to process it or reject it immediately until you really receive the transaction, because at the end of the day, this is a cross-border transaction. You have certain responsibilities when it comes to compliance that you have to respect. So that is no brainer. The Swift approach when it comes to these things, that there is a kind of, let's say, a threshold of around 90% of the transactions that need to be respected within the SLA itself, while you have the 10% average that you can play with actually to handle those exceptions. It doesn't mean that we're going to wait until the first transaction that is going to take longer, that things will be go into the problematic way. No, it is not the idea. It's the idea that we are all working together into faster, more instant cross-border payments experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Ala. This is usually a point of interest in discussion to banks. So whenever there is a new payment initiative. So maybe Sophia, you have, if you have a comment on this point as well, from your practical experience, was it a challenge or?
Yes, AML is always a challenge because we have to be obedient, and but this is general knowledge, as just Ala just explained. So we have to meet. We have challenges here to meet the expected SLA, the Swift Go SLA, and as well to abide and adhere to the compliance regulations. But as you said, there's flexibility with updating the tracker. So this one assisted us to adhere and to follow the time frame, the SLA. So it was at first a challenge, but as the days go on, it becomes much simpler because you know how to tackle it.
Yeah. And maybe Sophia, as well, your experience with Swift GPI was help you as well in this, or is it different? Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
So I have many questions over here, and I'll try to go through all of them. And so I have a comment on the, let me read it. Bilateral fee arrangements are the showstopper, as not many banks adopted Swift Go yet, especially the debtor role.
Yeah, and now actually we acknowledge that, and again, as we said, it's a collaborative approach. So each member is playing a role. Correspondents are playing a role. Senders are playing a role. Beneficiaries are playing a role. With such model, everyone is contributing to the success of this. I'm not saying that this is an immediate thing that you're going to capture 20 or 50% of the market share. No, it's something that we need to work on as a journey. Just to Swift GPI, when it was launched in 2017, we started with maybe, I think, 30 members or so. Now we're talking about more than 4,500 banking institutions are using the service, covering 90% of the transactions. That journey took around, I would say, 4 years until we reached to that level. So again, it's not immediate effect, but yeah, these things are happening from time to time. Not all correspondents are live yet. And even the ones who are live are also live with certain currencies, not all. So slowly during this year and next year as well, you will see a massive enhancements when it comes to these things. And if there is any challenge that you believe in the communication, approachability, and so on, feel free to reach to your let's say Swift account manager. We will help you out with that, because we already built that kind of network as well and contacts from the regional banks, from the global banks as well, to help out with facilitate those kind of discussions. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah. Thank you, Ala. And what I noticed myself is that you know, I attend Swift webinars between now and then. The number of participants is continuously growing. So you know, the earlier you join, you get a chance to implement and take your role earlier in this initiative.
Exactly. I mean, we started with 7 banks on Swift Go last year, so now we're talking about 630. So, I mean, there is a massive interest, and scalability is important in such model. We have to have everyone, so that's what we are working on at the moment.
Thank you. And another question is, on which stage we will screen the Swift messages? Afif, I think, can comment on this.
Now for outgoing, actually, also we can provide different options for screening transactions. Maybe we can expose to you, let's say, some APIs from our end with a screening, let's say, so you can do the pre-validation or the screening during the payment initiation. Now, this is one option. The second options we have it is as part of the outgoing after payment initiation, as part of the workflow or orchestration, we can include also the screening for the transactions, and according to the screening results, it will be update the source of the payments, if it is the online or the destination, if the transaction is released or still pending, or it has been rejected for any reason. So these are the stages, I believe, or the options we have it for outgoing. Now, regarding the incoming,
just to make it also to help us answer another question. So because you're already answering part of it, I have a question saying, can you go through one transaction flow? So you're already part of this. If you can augment it with this answer, and we can answer both for the sake of time. Yeah.
Good point here. So as we described before, during payment initiation in the channels, if it is mobile or within the core or the digital portals, we can expose an API for pre-validation or for screening. So during the payment initiation, you can predict the fees, you can predict if it's valid or not, and in addition to this, also the screening results with if there is hit or no hits in the core during the payment initiation. Once this one options can be implemented, or after the payment initiation within our enabler for Swift Go, we will do all these kind of validation by applying the pre-validation rules we have it from Swift, or your custom or your own validation rules to be part of the payment workflow within our enabler, including here the AML as part of the workflow to integrate with your sanction screening solutions. And definitely the decision taken by the compliance will impact the workflow for this transaction. Any updates or any, let's say, updates that prevent the transaction from being transmitted or transferred as a Swift Go over a Swift network, automatically our solution can be integrated back and push notifications to these channels to update them that the failure and the reason of the failure for these transactions. This is for the ordering bank. Now for intermediary and beneficiary banks, actually also, once the transaction is received based on the procedures you have, we can decide on which step that need to be validated for, let's say, compliance or for AML. And usually it will be the first step as part of the incoming validation for these Swift Go payments, MT103, and accordingly, if the transaction have no hits, then it will complete with core banking system or middleware to do a posting. And according to posting results, our solution will be capable to automatically generate the confirmation directly to the Swift GPI tracker. Now, if within the AML or compliance solution, or the sanction screening compliance need more time to take a decision to release it or not, if take more than, let's say, 30 minutes, we can generate reports for all these incoming transactions. It's aggregated reports for all these transactions and will be available in your inbox. So you will be aware for these transactions that may break the SLA for Swift Go. And once the decision taken by the compliance on the sanction screening, automatically this update will be available in our enabler. So if the decision it was for releasing the transaction, then it will continue with no hits flows and go and hit the core banking system for posting. If the transaction is rejected, then according to the procedures that you have it for these rejected incoming transaction, will generate first a confirmation to the GPI tracker with the rejection and rejection reason. And also, if we would like to prepare return payments automatically for these transactions and park it for maker checker with our enabler, this also, all these options are available. The return payments could be in different Swift message type. If it could be 103 or 202, some banks they are using 999s. All these options for return and prepare the transaction to you automatically. It's a matter of configuration within our solution, so you can get notifications also automatically in your inbox for these rejected transactions, and you will access the application if you need to approve that return payments and send it to Swift in different cycle out of the Swift Go SLA, these return transactions. This is the full journey for as instructing agent or as intermediary or and beneficiary bank or instructed bank in this Swift Go journey.
Yes. Well, thank you, Afif. And I think at any point with our customers, we can arrange a detailed call to explain this as well with some more diagrams and so on.
Sure.
On the list over here also of questions, how much time does system take to transfer of payment from remitter to beneficiary? Maybe Sophia, you can repeat what you have achieved at your site. Yeah.
Yes, Tariq. Actually, very impressive results. As I mentioned before in my presentation, we had the speed of 9 seconds as an outgoing message that received the beneficiary bank. So this is very impressive, almost instant speed.
Thank you very much.
Tariq, I wanted just to complement this part as well. Just the 9 seconds, this is very impressive results to be honest. This is really, maybe it is one of the fastest, if it's not the fastest transaction actually that has gone through the Swift Go. But the results actually really depend on the currency being used and the speed of the correspondent and so on. So there are many happy scenarios, but there are also frictions that may happen in between. So think about your typical transactions also today. However, the pre-agreements, the enforcing of the SLA and the rule book has dramatically enhanced the whole experience. Just there is an urgency to make things much faster, handled much faster. And this is why the mindset is just to make it much faster than before.
As we said, as the service picks momentum and we have more and more banks joining, things will be tuned even further.
Yes.
And this, Ala, I have a question for you. Do each user has to prepare their own rule book, and how Swift Go help the user to complete the rule book?
So again, if you think about what we have explained in terms of infrastructure and all of that, what Swift Go has introduced or enhanced is basically the rule book, set of rules that we said that every member has to agree on in order to make things much more efficient, much more faster as well. We have not invented a new technology in this. There are so more technological tools and components that are added on top in order to enhance the experience. But the key thing here is everyone's approach, everyone's response to make things faster in terms of automation, faster treatment, and handling of your transactions, being a sender, receiver, or intermediary in here. So the set of rule books is one for applied to all. So, but the rule book says if you are playing the intermediary role, those are the rules that are applying on you. If you are a sending bank, those are the rules applying on you, and beneficiaries the same. For the customers or banks who were familiar with GPI, you will see a lot of similarities there. That's why we focus on the idea that if you are a GPI bank, your journey is going to be much easier. However, if you are not a GPI bank, things are not impossible. Things are really easy to implement as well. but you need to work on the rule book and read it from scratch. So members who are not GPI enabled today can still join Swift Go. If you are a player who focus more on the consumer and SME space, you don't need to go for GPI in order to be a Swift Go member. So you can try to approach both, or you want to do one but not the other, is totally fine. Rule book is exactly the same for all, and this is how we make things more standardized.
And again, we welcome all of you to reach out to us for further explanation. The team has built a huge knowledge in this domain since the launch of Swift GPI and Swift Go. So we can cut corners for you and help you to get a speedy start with Swift Go. I have another question over here on screening. I think we have answered this. How will banks assign Swift Go with SafeWatch? I think we have talked about the screening. Another question is there any difference in Swift API from Swift API and Swift Go API?
Well, now if you talk about it, so I will give to Afif as well, because I know that you guys have worked a lot on the APIs space. So just to make things simple from a Swift perspective, and then I will hand it over to Afif to give his view as well. So Swift is working on enabling APIs, let's say, communication for so many services. And Swift Go, since it is relatively new, we are also approaching it in a more APIs enabled. This includes the communication with the tracker in order to get a status update, or to provide a status update, or to give that information that the transaction has been credited, and so on. Or also, which is a very important point that Afif has talked about, is the pre-validation side. So there are set of APIs that are available for Swift Go, and you can also use for Swift GPI, which gives you the best route, like basically to ask about the route that can be enabled over Swift
since
Go.
You mentioned the pre-validation, because I have a question over here, and I think it's important to many. Is pre-validation mandatory for Swift Go?
Well, it is not. However, it is very useful, to be honest. Now, pre-validation helps you with two things. First of all, the account itself. If you want to send a transaction to a specific account, you would like to understand if this account is valid or not. Because basically this account number of the beneficiary, it comes from the consumer directly. It's good that you have that way of also understanding that this IBAN or account number is really valid or not, by doing a cross-check with the beneficiary bank before you actually send the transaction, and just lose time until the transaction goes to the beneficiary. The second thing as well, you are able to extract the total fees. And finally is also look at the routes, because sometimes in order to reach to the beneficiary, you may have to go through different routes, or you may have the option to go through different routes. It will give you the idea that those routes are possible, and this is how much it's going to cost per route. And then it's good to have this kind of enablement and understanding to your consumer in order to understand if they want to go the fastest way or the cheapest way. It really depends on how they're thinking about it. Now, how do you enable this? Because there is a complete APIs portfolio that Swift has launched. You need to work on your own development in order to do it, or partner with organizations such as Eastnets, who have pioneered this as well. They built the whole integration piece in order just to make things much simpler to you. Maybe Afif, you want to complement my part here.
Before Afif, just to finish another point on the pre-validation, so that we keep the context. So is there pre-validation implementation without the API? I think the answer is no, right?
No, it's APIs. It's only APIs enabled.
Yeah. Afif, if you have any comments on.
Just to comment on the last one, I believe if we are talking about only for a Swift Go as eligibility here, we can utilize the Swift GPI directory. This is the only scope that can be implemented without an APIs. For other services, it's only available, as mentioned by Ala, through an APIs. And as you know, for this APIs concept, or as a technique to update and communicate with the GPI tracker or with other services provided from Swift, Swift introduced the new micro gateway component that can be used as a microservices hosted there. You can consume it to gain benefit from all the services as described in the previous slides or during this session. All these complexity, we have it for how to communicate with the micro gateway, which services need to be used. All these will be managed by our enabler. The default parameters, all these settings, it's configured by default with Eastnets enabler for Swift Go. And we are exposing all these APIs in simple way, technically, in a RESTful API or any other kind of let's say SOAP, if you need it, to be available to the channels or any other solutions, so you can gain benefits or do have all these implementations with minimal and simple implementation from your end as a channels or core banking systems or any other solutions that you believe that need an access to these services. So
Thank
in
you.
summary,
I think
yeah.
We've been in this kind of discussion with customers, and we've made it simple for the customers, and this is the purpose of using a solution like ours. You know, guys, when we planned this webinar, we intended to maintain a good time, keep a good time for questions, and fortunately, we have more questions than even the long time we allocated for questions, and unfortunately, we just ran over the time. So for our kind audience who posted some questions and we did not get to answer them, we will be following later with you with answers through emails. And for those of you who asked about recordings and slides, we will be following also on this with you after the webinar. We thank you again for attending. I thank our speakers for their time and the information they provided today. And we look forward to working with you on Swift Go in the near future. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone. Nice. Thanks for the invite. Have a good day. Bye.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a nice day.